Shalom, everybody. Welcome to the third of our sessions on Neo-Hasidism, trying to understand what Neo-Hasidism means for our time. Today we're going to talk about what's called in Hebrew Torat Adam. That means, what does it mean to be a human being? The Kotzker Rebbe was famous for saying on the verse, Ve'anshe kodesh tiyun li, you should be holy people to me. He said the word anshe, people, comes before the word kodesh, holy. He said in Yiddish, Früher darf man sein ein Mensch. First you have to be a person, then you can worry about holiness. That's a very important message in our day, friends. I fear that we live in a time when the values of what we call Menschlichkeit and Yiddishkeit are pulling apart from one another. Menschlichkeit means human decency. Yiddishkeit means Judaism. There is no Judaism that's not based on a universal sense of human decency. Derech Eretz Kadmala Torah, the Midrash says. The way of the world, living in the world, being a decent human being, comes first. Remember that line of the Kotzkers, Früher darf man sein ein Mensch. First, you have to be a person. Hasidism is considered an anthropocentric movement as well as a theocentric one. Last time we talked about the theocentric, the meaning of God in Neo-Hasidism. Today we're talking about the anthropocentric side, what it means to be a human being, what it means to be a mensch. Now, Hasidism is based on Kabbalah as a distilling of the greatest ideas of Kabbalah for popular consumption. One of the things it inherited from Kabbalah was the notion of the uplifting of sparks. God is found everywhere in sparks of holiness scattered throughout the world, and it's your job to discover them and uplift them, taking them back to their source, realizing they're all part of the one. You do that by prayer and meditation, and that is essentially the work of what it means to be a religious human being. But Hasidism made two changes on that idea that are very important. For the Kabbalist, the sparks of holiness are everywhere because of a terrible calamity that happened in the process of creation. When God sent the light into the world, the light was too intense for the world to bear. The vessels broke and the sparks scattered, covered by the klipot, covered by shells. That's why you have to uplift them and redeem them. In Hasidism, there's lots of talk about the sparks and almost no talk about the broken vessels. Hasidism wants to be optimistic about its view of the world and view of the human being. So it pretends that God put the sparks there for you to discover. The sparks are everywhere, and your job is to find them. That's not because of a cosmic tragedy, it's because of a delight in the way the world is filled with godliness, waiting to be discovered. The other thing Hasidism changed is that in Kabbalah, the sparks were all the same. They were all made to be uplifted by any Jew. Any Jew who practiced in the right way could uplift the sparks of holiness. In Hasidism, you begin to get more of the idea that they're sparks that belong to the root of your particular soul, and only you can uplift them. There are all those Hasidic stories about why the Rebbe's wagon broke down in a certain place in the forest, and he had to daven mincha there, had to pray there, because there were sparks there that belonged to the root of his soul alone, and nobody else could ever lift them up. So he was forced to be delayed in that place, so he could find those particular sparks. How do you find them? How do you seek out the sparks? Well, the sparks are attracted to what's called the spinteliyid, the innermost point within yourself. You have within yourself a nekudah, a point of light that attracts those sparks to it and pulls them in, and you uplift them and transform them. A person has to develop an inner eye, a way of turning inward and looking inward, discovering the spark of light within yourself, and then using that spark of light as a magnet to find and attract and uplift sparks of holiness everywhere you go. That's an essential teaching of Hasidism. But now I want to say something about the difference between Hasidism and Neo-Hasidism on this question, and that's very important. Two differences. For Hasidism, that inner self was the important self. The bodily self was a mere shell in which the true inner self was housed. For us today, we know that body and soul are really one, and that keeping the body in harmony with the soul and creating harmony between them rather than conflict between them is an essential Hasidic teaching that we want to uplift. Body, so the person is a body, soul, a soul body. We are one person. And uplifting the whole self is what's important. Number two, and very important, in Hasidism, this was all said about the souls of Israel and the role of Jews in saving the world. It's Jews who can go out and find the sparks of holiness everywhere. For us, that needs to be universalized, and all the great teachers of Neo-Hasidism, Martin Buber, Hillel Zeitlin, Abraham Joshua Heschel, Reb Zalman, all of them said, yes, we need to universalize the teachings of Judaism about the human being. Every human being is capable of uplifting sparks, and ours is not the only path to doing that. We are happy to teach and share the way of how we uplift sparks with other people. We're happy to learn from them as well. But the teaching about the human soul is a universal human teaching about all human beings created in God's image. God bless. See you next time. We're going to talk about our view of the world, what the world looks like from the viewpoint of Neo-Hasidism. See you then.